Alright, so we're going to be taking a look inside this Lenovo IdeaPad S340. Alright, so this is a non-touch model. It's a S340-15IIL. Alright, so the customer was having issues with this. The camera was having problems. We replaced the camera. It worked for a little while and then it stopped working again. So yeah, we don't know what's going on with it. The customer decided, because they really need the camera built into the computer, to upgrade to a new computer. And they wanted me to transfer things over and everything. So they were telling me to just wipe the drive out. They were going to recycle the computer. So instead I asked them if I could have it instead of payment, because this is actually a decent laptop even if the camera doesn't work. So yeah, they agreed to that. I feel it's a great deal for me, and they were happy because they were just going to recycle it. So anyways, we're going to use a T5 or Torx 5 screwdriver to get these screws out. You want to put the flat side down like this on your desk in the pattern you remove them, so that you can keep track of them. Sometimes the screws are different size, shape, and length, so you don't want to mix them up. Alright, so I just put them in the pattern like this, 3, 3, and 4, and then that way I can keep track of them all. Alright, if this video helps you out, make sure to like, subscribe, share my channel with others so that they can learn how to upgrade and repair their devices as well. And if it helped you save a bunch of money, please consider contributing a little to the channel. Every little bit helps and allows me to continue making these videos for a living. Alright, anyways, we're going to get all these screws out. And if you're wondering, the model number is right there, so you want to check yours to see if it's the same. I did work on a lot of these different IdeaPad S340 models. There's different models at the end. There's also like 13 model for like 13 inch. I think it's like 13 IIL instead of the 15. And there's also like models with the touch at the end of the name. So again, make sure you're looking at the right video, because if it's the wrong video, it might be a different process to get this thing apart, and you don't want to end up damaging your computer following the wrong guide. Okay, if I remember correctly, I don't think there were any hidden screws. This one I believe is held in with a little washer, because I unscrewed that and then it just got stuck there. Usually the reason they do that is to help with popping the case apart. So let's go ahead and open this up. So to open these up, usually I'll open the screen like this part way, and I'll get my fingernails in here. You can use plastic pry tools, but this screw, as you can see, since it's stuck there, I think it's actually in a good spot, because that's where the trackpad is, and you don't want to pry and push on the trackpad. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull from here. All right, and I'm pushing with my thumb and pulling with my fingernails, so basically prying it like this. Okay, and as you can see, it pops out relatively easily. We're going to do the same thing over here. Okay, and there we go. So we got the whole front edge here popped out. So we're going to go along the sides now. While holding this up, I just slide my fingernail in here to pop any of those clips. We're going to go over to the other side. Same thing, make sure this is popped up. I think this screw kind of went back in, so we're going to unscrew it while we're kind of pulling it up. And there we go. Got that out. Okay, so now we're going to pull this. Again, just run my fingernail along there. You can see it popped up. Okay, and then the back might be a little more difficult. Let's see here. So right now it's holding itself in place really well. We're going to rotate this, and I'm going to slide my fingernail back here if I can. Okay, again, you can use plastic pry tools if it helps. All right, this side is being really difficult. Let's see if this side's any easier. Not really. Okay, so what we're going to try is we're going to try and move the case like this and see if that helps pop it out. Okay, that's being really tough. Wow. Okay, how did I open this the last time? There we go. So I was pulling on this, pushing with my thumb back here, and that popped out. Let's go ahead and try that over here and see if we can get the same result. So there we go. So it looks like just pushing there with my thumb and pulling here helped. All right, now this middle's a little stuck. We just wiggled that, and there you go, popped out. Okay, and we're gonna open this up. Here's what it looks like inside. This actually has a slot for a regular SATA SSD or hard drive, and then also the slot for this M.2 PCIe NVMe SSD. Says Union memory here. All right, 256 gig. I kind of want to upgrade it because this is going to be used for my own personal use, but at the same time, oh, this plastic here broke. So there was a little clip here that kind of like broke off, but it should be okay because the screw. Anyways, might as well clean this up since we have it open. Okay, this laptop only has 8 gigs of RAM, so that might be a downside to this thing. I think I might need like a single 16 gig stick to up the RAM in here. All right, let's see. So the way you get to the RAM, let me actually get a good screenshot here for the thumbnail. Okay, I'm going to clean off this case as well, the bottom cover. So the way I clean it, I just use a toothbrush to loosen the dust, and then usually I'll use my electric air blower to get that remaining dust out. Okay, so there you go, cleaned it up. All right, we're going to set that aside. So let me show you how to get the RAM out here. Okay, I'm probably going to take the SSD out even though it has a warranty sticker there because, again, the customer bought it. So and then they brought it to me, so they're not going to be using it. Let's actually disconnect the battery as well because this laptop likes to turn itself on when you open the screen, like it'll show the battery capacity. So we're going to go ahead and take the battery out. Actually, let me zoom out here. And since this is technically my laptop now, I can do whatever I want with it. But I don't want to risk damaging it and making it useless, so we don't want to take out too much. Anyways, we're going to get these screws out. These screws are much shorter than the bottom case screws, and also we're using a PH1 or JS1 screwdriver to remove the screws. Okay, so we got 2 screws there, and I think that's all of them. Am I missing one anywhere? Oh, there's one hiding underneath this cable. Don't forget that one. Okay, so there we go. We got those 3 screws out. Now let's see. Okay, now we can lift this. You want to be careful because there are cables that kind of route through here. Okay, so we're going to get that cable out of the way. All right, then we can lift this and move that. And then the battery here, to remove that, grab as close as you can, or if you can, get over here. But usually this model, you don't have anything to grab, so I grab the cable as close as I can. Let's zoom in a little bit. And then I just wiggle the connector as I kind of pull it slowly, and there you go. Make sure if you get a replacement battery that it's facing this way, that you don't have it twisted around or anything. Okay, make sure you have the red wires facing down this way, and then the black wires up towards that. Okay, so here we go. We got the battery out, and the battery model number is right there, L18M3PF7. Okay, so there you go. We'll set that aside. You got the BIOS CMOS real-time clock RTC battery here. Let's actually go ahead and drain the power from this before we proceed. So after disconnecting the battery, we're going to carefully open this up. And then we're going to press and hold the power button for about 15 seconds to drain any residual power. This makes it a lot safer to work on, all right? Especially if you're going to mess with the LCD or screen cable. I don't plan to do that, but just to be safe, we're going to hold the power button anyways. And yeah, all right, it's been about 15 seconds. Let's carefully, slowly close this. You don't want to open and close it quickly because it is missing the screws here that were helping hold it from the bottom cover. If you do it quickly, sometimes the plastic here is weak and it can break. All right, I'm gonna check, make sure these screws are nice and tight. All right, this one was a little bit loose. That one's good. That one's a little bit loose, but not really. All right. That one's also a little loose. So I'm going to just be tightening these screws a little bit because I don't want them to come apart and fall out in the computer. I don't plan to carry this around much because I just leave this in my work area, so it should be fine. All right, you got 2 USB ports, SD card slot, 1 key recovery hole here. So this is if you need to get to the BIOS or change the boot options temporarily or start normally. Other things, you can push this little button with like a needle or a bent out paper clip or SIM card eject tool. Then you got the power, what do you call that, light? All right, power indicator light. All right, we got this tape thing here. We're gonna peel that up a little just so you can kind of see underneath. If you're wondering, this board connects to the rest of the computer with this cable, which has a flip latch, and after you flip that, you can pull the cable out. I'm going to leave that in place because I don't need to mess with that, and it's also somewhat tucked underneath here, so removing that is a little bit of a pain. I think I recorded a video where I actually took this cable out, so if you want to watch that, it's not this specific model, but I think it's one of the other S340s or something. All right, so we're going to peel this up carefully, and here you can see how the CMOS BIOS real-time clock RTC battery is connected there. All right, I just use my fingernails at the wings and wiggle it to pull it out. I'm gonna leave that in place because we don't have any issues and we don't need to take that out. All right, we got the LCD LVDS connector here going around the fan, tucking underneath here, and then it goes here. This kind of cable, I remove it by pulling. Usually this tab kind of doesn't work too well, so I get underneath with my fingernail here, and then I just pop it up just like that. So that's how I disconnect that cable. All right, we're just gonna put this back. Again, I don't wanna mess around with it too much and then risk damaging anything. Oop, why isn't it going in right? Okay, I think that's good. All right, pop it out one more time. Make sure it's in. You wanna make sure this cable clicks into place because you don't want it being loose. That can cause your screen to fry and everything, all right? Again, make sure that you disconnected the battery and press and held the power button at least 15 seconds before removing that. Otherwise, you can cause some damage, permanent damage. You can fry the cable, fry the connector, fry the screen, or all of them, all right? You got the fan here. Looks like it's just held in with 2 screws. Let me take the screws out and see if the fan moves or if it's held in with some more adhesives. I don't plan to take the fan out completely, but I kind of just want to check. All right, so we got that, and yeah, the fan looks like you can take it out. You'd have to unroute this cable and then you can actually slide it back and out. And then this cable is for the fan connector here. You can pinch it with your fingernails and then kind of just wiggle that to pull it out. All right, I'm going to pinch that back in because I did move it a little, but I don't want to take it out. All right, let's go ahead and get the 2 fan screws back in. Again, this laptop is going to be one of my computers I use for diagnosing other things. It doesn't have great dedicated graphics or anything, and because it's only 1 stick of RAM, it's probably not going to run too crazy quick, but it's a decent, it's an i7 10th generation, I think pretty slow though. Anyways, we're going to get underneath and pop this thing out. So I just use my fingernails. You can use plastic pry tools, whatever works for you. And here you can see the stick of RAM. Oh, there's some dust stuck here. I want to get it out. Okay. So the RAM is here. You can pull these 2 tabs away from it and it will pop up just like that. Then you can go ahead and pull this out. So here you can see the stick of RAM. Is it going to focus? There you go. Is a 4 gig PC4 2666V. So it actually has 2, not 2 sticks of RAM, but it has 4 gigs soldered to the motherboard and 4 gigs here, which kind of sucks. I wish they put 8 gigs into the motherboard and just didn't have this, because then I could have just put an 8 gig stick and had 16 gigs total. But I guess they assume people aren't going to be upgrading it and they're just going to use it as is. Because now if you put a 8 gig stick or a 16 gig stick to go with the 4 gigs, it's not as good as if you had matching symmetrical capacities. All right, so we're going to line this back up with the little clips that kind of hold it in place. All right, make sure to line it up right on all sides, and then you can go ahead and push that down. Okay, there we go. And then we have the M.2 PCIe NVMe SSD here. So let me see if I can scrape this little thing up here. I'm going to use a small flathead screwdriver because that's probably works better. And I want to be careful. You could just technically just pierce it, but I'm trying to get all the residue off. I don't want to leave the warranty sticker residue on the screw. So I'm trying to actually scrape it off the screw, if possible. All right. Yeah, it looks like it's going to leave the residue there, but, or maybe that's just exposed metal. Okay, we got most of it off. There we go. So we're going to throw that sticker away because we don't need that. And here's the M.2 PCIe NVMe SSD. You can upgrade this to any M.2 PCIe NVMe SSD. It doesn't matter. The capacity should be fine. You can put whatever you want. You can put an 8 terabyte if you want. So once you remove the screw, it pops up like the RAM. Then you can go ahead and just pull it out. And here you go. This is the motherboard model number. So you want to check yours because yours might be different depending on your processor and everything. But here you can see LA-H103P. That's the model. And you can see this is a 2019 model. So about 3 years. July 24th. All right, anyways. Yeah, I assume this laptop is about 3 years old. It's not too bad. And for the build design, I think it's decent. especially since the job wouldn't have been too expensive, probably in like at most 150. So to me, it's a good deal. The laptop for 150 bucks, great deal. All right, anyways, we're gonna zoom out here and we'll take a look at the SATA port here. So there's 2 screws on the sides here, and there's probably one hidden under the speaker. I think I actually opened one of these completely. So we're gonna lift this off the rubber mounts, move that over. Oh, there's 2 screws under here. Okay, so we're gonna take these 2 out. And if I want, I can add extra storage here. I can also upgrade the SSD here. So once we get those, we're gonna slide it back, and here we go. So they put this metal plate here in place of a regular hard drive. So this is just a, here you can see, it's a dummy bracket. You can even see it says HDD dummy BRK bracket, all right? So you can take this out. There's 4 screws holding it in place, and then you can replace it with a regular hard drive. This screw's kind of crooked, excuse me, the screw's crooked, so I don't know if I can straighten it out to make it hold better. Oh yeah, okay, that worked. So I want to make sure, because that screw, I don't want it to come loose and roll around inside the computer. Okay, so basically this bracket that they put here is just to keep the screws there for you. When you install a hard drive, you can throw this metal piece away. You'll never need it again unless you plan to take the hard drive out and then just leave the screws in there. But you can just leave the screws in, you can put the screws in like a little baggie or something. Okay, so very easy if you want to add a second hard drive in here for storage, or if you want to get a cheaper SATA SSD here and replace it with this. You can put the operating system on there as well, but the NVMe is a lot faster, so I would highly recommend, if you are going to do that, to keep an NVMe as the boot drive, but it's not a requirement. You can put the SSD or the OS on here. Like say your SSD failed and you just wanted to get like one large regular SSD here, you can do that, no problem. All right, so we'll get these screws back in. We'll get the speaker back over here. Okay, and what else do we got? So speaker connectors right here, both speakers connect there. You can see the wires kind of go all the way around and then connect there. And then this one, it threads around that battery area. Okay, you got this connector here for the touchpad or trackpad. This has a flip latch, and then you can pull the cable out. I don't want to mess around with it because I don't need to take that out. The keyboard connector here, flip latch is on the back side, and then you can pull this out. Keyboard backlight connector, you have this flip latch as well. Okay, and then this, of course, the other end of that cable. CPU is soldered to the motherboard. There is no dedicated GPU on here. CPU you can't remove either unless you have special tools and knowledge, but then you wouldn't be asking me if you can. So I get people that ask me if they can upgrade the CPU. Usually if they have to ask, they're not going to be able to do it because these, you can see they're so thin. It's just soldered on with a bunch of the balls of solder. Anyways, I think they call it BGA, ball grid array. Anyways, you got the wireless card here, just like every other model. I don't want to peel this out, but underneath there's the antennas. You pull it up from the tail, and then there's one screw and it will pop up to remove like the M.2 PCIe NVMe SSD. All right, then you got the charge port, DC jack. To remove this, there's 2 screws here. Okay, we'll see if I'm going to actually lift this out because it can be a little bit risky, but let's see. Okay, so you got those 2 screws out. I'm gonna open the laptop slightly. Be careful that you don't break these plastic things. Okay, so we're gonna carefully, I'm gonna hold my thumb here to help and push my fingers in here to push the screen downwards as I'm lifting. And then once we got it open a little bit, just like that, we can carefully close the screen down. Be very careful with this, go very slowly. And then you should be able to get your hand in here and lift the hinge out more. Be careful that you're not hitting anything because you don't want to break any plastic bits there. But here you can see charge port, very easy to remove. Just use your fingernails like this, wiggle it, and it will pop out just like that. And of course, take note of the red and black wires. You don't want to plug this thing in upside down. All right, on the ones that come with it, they actually draw a dot on it, but if you buy a replacement, it might not have that. So keep that in mind. All right, so charge port is here. It looks like it's tough to remove. You can use like a screwdriver or something to kind of get in here and see if you can help it up, but yeah, it's like stuck in there. So I'm wiggling it up and down. You can see that's kind of helping it, and there we go. So that's how you remove the charge port. You just got to keep wiggling it and eventually it will walk its way out. Okay, so there's the charge port. So if you need to replace the charge port, very easy. Just make sure when you remove the hinges that you do it carefully, because you don't want to break this stuff here. Right, we're going to carefully put the charge port connector back in. Make sure that you push it in straight, not at an angle. You don't want to accidentally damage the pins in there, otherwise your computer won't charge anymore. Okay, make sure to tuck this cable back in here, and then we're going to carefully, slowly lower this back down. Make sure also the wireless antennas are staying out of the way. You don't want to clamp down on top of that and then end up cutting this wire. Okay, so we're going to carefully, slowly push this back down. Make sure this sticker ends up back on top. Okay, and again, we're just slowly going. It's now hitting the plastic here, so what we're going to do, we're going to lift from out here to lift the case back up, get this all lined up. Now that you got it all lined up, push down on the hinge while you're lowering down the screen or the rest of the computer, and there we go. Everything's lined up. Again, make sure these cables are in place and not getting smashed, and then we're going to get these screws back in. And that's pretty much it. I don't really see much else to go over in here. I'm not going to take the motherboard out. If you're wondering, the keyboard is soldered in, or not soldered, but it's held in place by melted plastic. So it's not an easy repair job to replace this keyboard by itself. You'll probably want to get the whole plastic panel with the palm rest and everything. Also, touchpad, trackpad is removable. There's 2 screws here, and I'm pretty sure 2 screws on the other side. I didn't pay attention, but you should be able to lift the touchpad out after you remove those screws. You do have to kind of go at an angle, so keep that in mind. These cables are going to be somewhat in the way, so you want to be careful not to damage these. All right, and I think that's just about it. If you want, you could easily redo the thermal paste. There's 3 screws on the heatsink here. You'll probably take the fan out, and then you can lift the heatsink out to redo the thermal paste. Usually the thermal paste is going to make it stuck down. So what you want to do, if it's stuck and it won't just pull straight up easily, you can actually rotate the thing, like twist it, and that will kind of like release the thermal paste. All right, and yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Let's go ahead and get the battery back in here, and that's pretty much all we're gonna show. So yeah, this design's nice. Most of the components here are very easy to replace, except for, of course, the keyboard, unless you're replacing the whole piece. Let's see, what else? And then, if I remember correctly though, this design has a bad like hinge issue, so it needs like to be strengthened. I've actually worked on several of these similar models, not this one specifically, but on other ones I've worked on a lot of them, and they all needed the whatchamacall, the hinges, not the hinge, yeah, the hinge repaired. I had to epoxy it or JB weld it to the screen area. All right, we're gonna line this back up. Again, make sure that the battery goes in at a straight, like straight, not at an angle. There we go. Then pinch the 2 together just like that. So I pinch on the plastic side and on the other side of the connector. Then we just get this all lined up. Does this side have any clips? So it looks like this side doesn't even have any clips holding it in. If you want, you can thread the blue and white cable at the top here. It wasn't actually threaded up there for some reason, but usually I would think it's supposed to be threaded up there, and then this side goes underneath this plastic piece, and then this one threads back on top. All right, just like that. And I think we're good to go. So let's go ahead and get the bottom cover back on. All right, pretty simple. Again, this screw is held in, you can see, with that little washer there. All right, and that keeps it in place, makes it easier to take apart. Make sure when you put this back that you're careful with that. Okay, and then we're just gonna click all of this back in. Just go around the edges, click it back into place. Okay, make sure that this screw, when you do it, oh, we gotta switch back to the T5 Torx 5. Oh, I forgot the battery screws, my bad. Now we're gonna have to open this up again and get those screws back in. All right, so let's go ahead and do that again. I guess you get to see for a second time how easy it is to pop this cover open. Again, this screw, it likes to go back into the screw mount a tiny bit, so you do have to unscrew it a little while you're pulling on it. Okay, and then there we go. Okay, slowly, carefully close it. And I didn't clip everything back in, so it's a lot easier to get that out. Okay, we'll get the 3 screws for the battery back in. This one, and then these 2 here. So we got this one, and the last one here. Okay, nice and simple. There we go. We'll get this back on again. Last time. Alright, hopefully last time. I think I got everything. Hopefully I didn't miss any connections. Alright, clip all these clips back in. Alright, everything seems good. Switch back to the T5 Torx 5 screwdriver and get these screws in. Okay, I like to twist it backwards usually to see if it's like lined up right, and then we'll tighten it down. Okay, that one's good. And let's go ahead and get all the rest. And yeah, that's pretty much it. You're welcome to stay as I get all these screws back in. Hopefully this video helped you guys out. Again, if it did, make sure to like, subscribe, share my channel with others so that they can learn how to upgrade and repair their devices as well. It really does help if you guys like and comment on these videos, because right now YouTube has been slowing down like how often they show my videos to people. Though my videos aren't really for entertainment, so it's more if people actually need help opening these up or working on them. Okay, so I know I've had some people comment about why do I like show the whole process of taking out the screws or putting in the screws, saying they know how to remove the screws. But other people, they'll say it's nice because they can follow in like at the exact time that I'm doing this, because I don't do it like sped up or super fast. I actually do it at a pace where people can actually follow along. But anyways, other than that, yeah, if this video helped you save a bunch of money, please consider contributing a little to the channel. Again, if you can't really contribute anything, I understand. But yeah, if you can't, please at least like, subscribe, and comment on the video and share it with others. Don't share this exact video with other people unless they actually have this laptop. I do have other videos on my channel that might be more entertaining or maybe something they'd like to see. So keep that in mind. Don't just blindly share videos because then people aren't going to actually watch them. Anyways, that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Alright, let's drop this thing. Bye.